Be it the iconic engine sound, the association with the Terminator, or the fact that they were so reliable and powerful that the US Army used them as courier bikes in the Second World War, there are no motorbikes as iconic as Harley-Davidsons. So, let's take a look at what it takes to make an all-American classic like a Harley-Davidson motorbike. Background. Now, as many people know, Harley-Davidson is one of the pioneers of motorbike manufacturing anywhere in the world. In fact, the company got its start all the way back in 1903, almost 120 years ago. And since then, they have gone through many iterations, from the wartime bikes employed by the military to smaller street bikes, and even European and Japanese style heavy bikes. But the real crown jewels in their lineup are still the large open frame chopper style bikes. And they don't look like that just for show. In fact, they still employ many of the same design and engineering techniques as the ones used by the iconic older Harleys. And just as it did back then, it all starts with the frame. Now, most bikes these days like to keep their frames light and hidden behind a bunch of flashy pieces of bodywork. But part of what makes Harley-Davidson bikes so iconic is the fact that they take pride in their engineering, which is why even today, they like to showcase their giant stainless steel frames right front and center around the engine. That and the fact that the bikes are just so heavy that it's literally impossible to build a small frame. Now, as we mentioned, this frame is built using super strong steel that is brought into the factory in the form of tube-shaped pieces. These pieces are then welded together to form the final frame to which everything can attach. And while the company started out by making and welding these frames by hand, with only 3 bikes total made in the first year, these days, the same factory is able to produce over 500 complete frames every single day. Part of the reason behind that is the use of robots that take up most of the simple time-consuming welding. But the trickier bits are still done the old-school way by highly skilled Harley workers. And once the assembly is done, the welding marks are smoothened out, and since the entire subframe is heavier than a medium-sized person, a crane is used to lift it and put it aside until assembly. Now, while this is happening on one side, workers on the other side of the factory work on some of the other bits, like the mud guards. While some more enthusiastic bikers choose to remove the bike's mud guards for a more aggressive look, the Harley-Davidson's own mud guards are plenty badass on their own, consisting of a giant chrome polished steel piece that would put any car tire to shame. To make these, giant steel sheets are brought into the factory where an automatic machine loads them into a steel press that has a pre-made mold with the mudguard's shape attached to it. Then, it's just a matter of applying the right amount of pressure, and the press converts that steel into a smooth, iconic retro mudguard. From here, a cutting machine removes the excess steel sheet from the mudguard curve, and a grinder smooths out the rough edges. And speaking of the mudguards, let's also take a look at the wheels. While Harley-Davidson does offer modern aluminum and steel cast wheels, a large number of their dedicated fan base still prefer the OG wireframe wheels, which, while they do take a lot more effort to clean, definitely earn their worth in looks. For these, a steel-pressed rim with holes cut out is attached to a central hub for attaching the axle using a ton of steel wires, all of which act together to keep the wheel together. These rims are then fitted with thick chopper-style tires, either classic black or retro white wall, and then slotted into the now polished and ready mudguards, which brings us to the most design-oriented part of the build, the tank. While the tank might not be the most impressive part of a motorcycle, let alone a Harley-Davidson one, it is still nonetheless one of the first things you notice when you walk up to the bike. As a result, while it might not be as important as, say, the engine, it's still given a lot of work and care. Not to mention the fact that it also holds the lifeblood of the vehicle that, if spilled, could cause the death of not only the machine, but the riders as well. This is why, instead of using their riskier techniques like casting the tank, it is made using the same steel pressing method as the mudguard and rims. This is done in 2 sections. The top rounded convex section and the bottom concave section that sits over the engine. To connect the two, the upper portion is sliced in half using laser cutters to ensure the smoothest finish, and fitted with the smaller inner portion, and all these are welded together then. Since a tank is such a crucial and potentially dangerous part, a lot of companies like to buy theirs from a separate company specializing in them. But Harley-Davidson still keeps its tradition of making in-house tanks. For this, a very skilled worker hand operates a roller welder, which joins the three parts together without even a noticeable seam. Whatever is left is sanded out, and the tank is sent on to the safety area where an engineer tests the tank's seal. For this, the tank is immersed in water, and if a single bubble escapes, the tank will be rejected. But if it passes, it moves on to its second to last station, painting the tank. To give a tank its paint job, it first has to be cleaned. In fact, any parts that might be painted like the frame, hubcaps, or rims all come into the paint shop first to be cleaned thoroughly. Then comes the act of painting, which is once again done by using robots. That being said, unlike a car where the parts are painted as is, Harley-Davidson might use more complex designs. You see, while Harley-Davidson is famous for making custom bikes for their valued customers, doesn't mean that any of their stock designs look bland. In fact, most of them already pay homage to the long-distance bike's golden age. And one of the most noticeable features to have back then was a two-tone finish. So, to accomplish that, workers tape over some of the tank's parts to keep them free from paint, and once the first color is dry, they exchange the tape portion and paint it with the second color. And finally, once the desired look is achieved, one last worker affixes the Harley-Davidson badge onto the side of the tank using a laser sight to ensure perfect placement. After that, all that's left is the assembly. First, the engines are brought in from one of Harley's engine manufacturing factories. These consist of over 370 parts that are all made by both man and machine, and once done, can be polished and brought over to the assembly line. Here, these engines are first snugly fit inside of the subframe from earlier, then the tank slides on top. Slowly, the handlebars are added, and so is the suspension, which is said to be so reliable that it was the reason why the US Army ordered over 80,000 of these bikes during World War II. Finally, the wheels and the electronics can be installed along with the seat, optional storage, and other small amenities. But after everything is done, the bike still isn't road ready just yet. For that, it must first pass an indoor driving test. Since Harleys are so important to their customers and the company, they're not allowed to leave the factory unless an engineer has tested the bike's engine and performance. But to make sure that an open road test doesn't ruin the bike's finish either, this is done on what is called a rolling road, a special room with a giant treadmill-like contraption on the floor that can allow the bike to travel at over 80 miles an hour without leaving the equivalent of a medium-sized room. And once the appropriate measurements check out, the bike can finally be sent over to the customers, who will no doubt appreciate the heritage and craft that goes on behind the scenes to create this all-American monster. Click on any one of the two videos on your screen right now. We'll catch you guys in the next one.